I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, January 13th, 2026, 7 o'clock p.m. Open Meetings Act is on the wall. I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Stuart Creature.
Here.
James Sweet.
Here.
Carl Warford.
Sure.
Brian Davis.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nichols.
Here.
No proclamations. Is there anyone in the audience that has an item they would like to discuss that's not on the agenda? Okay. Allison's heading that way for her report.
Pass them down. Okay, I am going to spend the majority of my time with the department head report going over a project we are calling Access Wahoo, Connecting Community and Opportunity. I know this is the first time that you have heard about this, but not really. It's the first time you've heard it under this sort of title. So last summer, as some of you attended, some of you did not, but there was an economic development forum hosted by Representative Don Bacon at I call it the ARDC, the university's site down in Ithaca. And one of the opportunities that was presented at that forum was information on the Nebraska Department of Transportation Infrastructure Hub. The Infrastructure Hub was designed, they kicked it off probably 3 years ago, was designed to provide the connection between cities and counties and federal funding dollars for infrastructure. Out of that conversation, then I got a phone call inviting me to participate, and Jerry, in a conversation with the county about an application that they are preparing for federal earmark dollars in the spring to do improvements to County Road L, which is that county road directly west of Casey's. And with the city being interested in partnering with the county and applying for a federal earmark to be able to make it a more encompassing project and covering a larger area. Absolutely, we'll be part of that. Fast forward to when we actually started putting the dollar figures together and realized that we're talking about just our piece of it is about $10 million. And typically the federal earmarks don't reach that threshold. So the staff from the Infrastructure Hub called me and said, hey, we think that you should probably either look at applying for a federal earmark yourself, or we have this other opportunity called the Build Grant. And it is a competitive grant application process for infrastructure dollars to build. There are some portions of that that are specifically targeted for rural, which we meet those qualifications, and those can be 100% funded. Your grant application is better at some sort of local commitment part, but at this point we're talking about 100% funding through the Build Grant federal funding opportunity. So, grant application is due by February 24th. So, the Infrastructure Hub, we had our first kickoff meeting last week. They have a consultant that they use on demand. It's called High Street, and they complete these kinds of grant applications all the time. So they were very organized and had done a lot of research already and collected information. And so I am here to answer questions. We can talk a little bit about the criteria that are established to deliver measurable benefits in the grant application. There's 8 of them. They're identified in your memo: safety, environmental sustainability, quality of life, mobility and community connectivity, economic competitiveness and opportunity, state of good repair, partnership and collaboration, and innovation. And the goal to get us past the first round of scoring is to reach a high scoring in 6 of those 8 criteria. That's what the consultant said, that's what it takes to move you to the next level. So there are 2 areas that I'm asking for your support. I guess just to back up a little bit, we are talking about a $10.6 million grant application to complete 2 projects. One of them being a intersection improvement at 15th Street and the Expressway. We did authorize FHU to do an updated traffic impact study for that intersection earlier this year. That draft agreement is under review by Department of Transportation right now as we speak, and that has been given to the consultant. So that did propose or support that there needs to be traffic improvements at that intersection if the area to the south of Casey's moves forward with improvement. So the 2 items that were discussed in that study were, what do they call it, an RCUT, Michigan, right, or something, and then a roundabout. So I don't know that the specific improvement has been determined, but we are laying the foundation, laying the need that an improvement is needed at that intersection. And the other piece of it would be something to provide connectivity between that development south of Casey's and the rest of the community other than 15th Street. So it would provide that secondary access point over Dry Run Creek, approximately at 10th Street. Any questions on what I've said so far? So the things that I am seeking your support on and the public support on are showing the reviewers of this grant application that we have community support. And that would be in the form of either a letter of support. Local letters of support are great, but we are especially searching for a support that shows a regional impact of these improvements. So it's bigger than Wahoo, it's bigger than Saunders County. And staff at IHAB are helping reach out to some freight companies, reaching out to like Lincoln Premium Poultry. They're helping in conversations with Omaha Steel and others. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, you know specifically what kind of freight travels Highway 77, please let me know so that we can reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to support a potential project in that area. And then letters of support that show support of economic development, like a regional economic development. And then from the community, we're looking to have folks complete a grant survey. This was developed by the consultants. We talked about it a bit, that they have factored it all in, and NDOT has the software and the resources to be able to do this, put this survey together quickly. And what we are searching for on this is for people to tell us how they use that intersection or why they don't. Do they have any opportunities or any stories or experiences that they want to share that say, oh my gosh, I was there, I saw this almost happen, or I don't go there because I'm scared I'm going to be rear-ended, or I can't turn because there's too much truck traffic. Whatever those stories are, we want to know about them. And I think what I really tried to drive home with the consultant is that we have had this pretty close to this situation at another intersection, Highway 77, 92, 109, up north by Baumgars. We don't want to wait until the safety statistics reach the threshold that they have to make something happen in this intersection. So we really want the community support in telling the story. I have reached out to both schools and asked if I can work with them and share this flyer that talks about the project, as well as this flyer, two-sided, that has a QR code that takes you to the survey. If I can get that in the students' hands to take home, the consultant that's working with us is asking for those responses to be submitted by the end of next week, so January 23rd. Some of the questions that are on this survey, which I can...
Sorry, can the school do something directly, like filling this out? Will that help? Like, I just know that from public, we won't use that intersection at all. We all go out the longer route and go out Hackberry.
So
hit the highway,
having,
not a single bus driver will go out on that intersection, we just won't touch it.
Yeah, they
having,
won't use it.
We don't, we go out on Hackberry, even though it's faster to go the other way, we
Right.
go out on Hackberry.
having the school issue a letter of support, having every bus driver complete the survey and say, I'm a bus driver and we don't use this, or, and have your spouse complete this and say, our family doesn't use this because of whatever. So the more that we can get, the stronger our application will be. Where did that go? So I just want to briefly review, I guess first of all, if you are looking for a sample letter of support, I have one that I can email you or email any business if you just let me know who to send it to. I have a copy of the grant here, and basically I'm just going to run through these questions. How often do you travel US 77 near Wahoo? And there's options. How often do you travel 15th Street and Drive? Do your children travel to school using US 77 and 15th Street intersection? Overall, how satisfied are you with the infrastructure and safety of the US 77 and 15th Street intersection? Have you ever been involved in or observed a crash or near-miss crash at that intersection? If yes, please describe what happened in as much detail as you can remember. What prevents or discourages you from traveling US 77 or 15th Street intersection or Darwin Road? What improvements would you make to US 77 at the 15th Street intersection? If these improvements were made, do you think your likelihood of using 77 15th Street intersection would increase? And then lastly, do you have any suggestions for infrastructure improvements for that intersection near Wahoo or Dry Run Road? So it's pretty straightforward. It shouldn't take people much time to complete. I'm going to be working with the senior center and the library and the civic center to get it out in the public, posting it on our social media, putting it on the city's website. So if any of you would like to take, I have extra ones of these, if you could post them at your bulletin boards or share them at your counters, whatever that, I think the more that we can get input on this, the better. I would hope that as a community, we can give more responses to this survey than we did to the playground survey that Kevin talked about at our last council meeting. So with that, I will stop preaching and let you ask me questions. You have any? Yes?
Does it still include hard surfacing the road west of 77?
This piece, this grant application does not include that. The county is working at the suggestion of the IHUB staff on their own application for a federal earmark. So that is going to stand alone and be a separate project.
So it's okay.
It would,
So it's being covered, but
Right.
differently.
differently, right. Any questions?
For a $10 million ask or for the grant request, it seems like it'd be quite an overhaul, so are we thinking roundabout, is that what we're thinking, or some other controlled intersection?
Yeah. Yes, definitely a controlled intersection.
Sure.
The traffic study, the draft traffic study states that if everything south of Casey's were built out as planned, if it were built out today by 2028, which is only 2 years away, that an infrastructure, a controlled intersection at that location would be warranted for the guidelines, traffic control.
I do know other conversations that we've had, specifically a turn lane off 77 onto 15. There was a lot of input from the Department of Roads, and it sounds like they'd be involved with this as well. They're part of the
Yes.
entire process, so that would take some of that question later out of, is it supported or?
So we did in our preliminary meeting, we talked about is a turn lane appropriate there? Is that, and while it seems that it may
For one direction, maybe.
help if you're like northbound and you want to turn west, or excuse me, turn east, it just adds one more piece of traffic that people have to pay attention to. And, you know, we've all seen what happens when traffic pulls around to zip on by and someone's in the turning lane. It's just, it ends badly. So my suggestion to NDOT is that we don't look at a turning lane at this point. Because it's just
When
not.
you say turn lane, I just think of the problems we had over here at 109 and 92, right? By the time you're trying to cross and keep track of traffic on so many lanes, anybody who's these kids trying to get back to Sutton Estates over there have the biggest problem with the multiple lanes. Just, yeah, I don't think a turn lane is a great.
And from a freight standpoint, you know, if you're a semi and you want to turn into town and you're going north, you either have to be in the left-hand lane to make a wide enough turn, or you have to wait until westbound traffic is out of the way, or you're off the pavement. Your turning radius isn't large enough. So.
Well, I know that you spoke about the Economic Development Conference, and I remember when Representative Bacon was talking, he said that Saunders County will be the fastest growing county in the state within the next 3 years, if I remember that's the correct number. But with that being said, Ashland, Buchanan, and Wahoo with having the greatest growth going on.
Yeah.
And with that being said, that just makes that intersection even busier, because if we have that kind of growth, then we also want more traffic and everything else, so it makes it more and more imperative that we get something done there.
Right. And we did talk about that in our kickoff meeting and explain to the consultants that Highway 7792 is planned to be the I-80 alternative. And I think you've reported that, Jerry, from the meetings you've attended of the Nebraska Highway Commission, right? They've added 92 as a project into Highway 6 to go south to Gretna, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
all the way in, yeah.
in DOT has already had conversations about this project and why it traffic. And I seriously, if we had 4 lane from Wahoo to Omaha right now, I use that intersection cautiously. I would not use that intersection at all. That's just, it'd be a bad deal.
Your due date's pretty quick then.
Yes, it is. But the reason behind that is not because I have dropped the ball or we just didn't get started in time. It's because the consultant wants to use these narratives, the stories that people are telling in the actual grant application. And so for them to be able to do their job and tell the story accurately and compellingly, they need to know what people's experiences are. So yes, it is a quick turnaround.
Is this something we can put on, I know you said we're gonna put it on their site, but like individually, like I live on Heritage Heights, we have a Heritage Heights community board page, or something that we can put.
Yeah, and if you want to share, or if you want to scan and put that on the site yourself,
Okay.
I think that's
Make
fine.
sure it was okay.
The grant does, because I think there was some question about, well, what if somebody fills it out 10 times, right? Well, sorry, not the grant, the survey. The survey does ask for first and last name and zip code. So even if you share this with someone who travels through Wahoo to get to work every day, and chooses not to stop at Casey's to get their cup of coffee because they don't feel it's safe, share this with them. We need to know who's using the intersection or why they're not using the intersection. And,
Well, like for the school, you're not using it, but why?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Trying to allow for traffic.
Can we have an action better? That's one question. I don't think it's somewhere else.
I don't think we have, like I said, we don't use it. We drive all the way around that, we don't in or out of that intersection.
So if there's any questions, shoot me an email on my cell phone, whatever. I'll work to get you answers. Other things that are going on, Ryan is excited because we've finally gotten the railroad permits to start work on the looping project. So we got the permits, we signed them, and we sent in the money that they asked for. So that project is ready for bid, and I think we'll be working to get that done quickly so that we can potentially have construction happen in 2026.
Yeah, that was a holdup for some time, so that's.
9
good.
months, to be exact.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So, also, in case you've missed the message, City Hall is officially moving on Thursday. We are closed for business on Thursday and Friday. We will not be answering phones on Thursday. Friday, we're hoping we will have everything connected and we can answer the phone, but we're hoping to take the day to get settled in and get everybody in their place and get things put away. So we have a plan for our field teams to come in and help, and yeah, we're kind of anxious to get it finished, right? Is that would be the word.
Anxious is a good word.
Yeah. And the police department are doing their move today and tomorrow, so they are officially have their operation set up at the 216 West 3rd, so they're just finishing up some stuff tomorrow, and then we will move forward.
Now that it's new year, that means to re-register something like a go-kart, by side, police station
For the inspection.
for the inspection, then go pay, and then back to the police
No,
station.
I
Okay.
have the stickers now.
Okay, because I know it used to be
Yes,
run back
right,
and forth a
right.
couple times between it.
When it's only, what,
Right, well, it's all the same building, it's just
Yeah.
right outside. It's a little different now if you're running back and forth, so curious.
I think that is all I've got to report. I'm sure there's more of it. I'm excited about this grant opportunity, and based on the preliminary conversations in our kickoff meeting, it sounds like the consultant feels like our application should be pretty competitive, so. it's good.
I agree with the move to get it out now instead of when you have multiple years of stats. Now is the time, I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. If you look through that, let's see the claims.
Claims will be moved to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions, comments? If not, roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Okay, we will go to public hearings. First public hearing is application for TIF for Wahoo Ridge Residential Development Project, Affordable Housing Trust Fund housing project located in lots 1 through 6, Wahoo Ridge subdivision. I will open up the hearing and ask for the developer to make their presentation, and then we'll open up to the public.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Kevin Anderson here representing JEO Investments. Was here just a couple of weeks ago speaking to you, acting at the Development Authority, but for the sake of those in attendance or watching, I'll just rehash a little bit and make myself available for questions. As I said last time, I'm really excited about this and the model that was created in partnership with JEO, potentially our construction contracting entity, Sand Creek Construction, the City of Wahoo, Southeast Nebraska Affordable Housing Council, through SEND and all of that. I think everyone's pretty excited about this because of the unique approach and the ability to replicate this both locally and in other communities. It is a fairly innovative approach to attainable workforce housing. But what this is a TIF request in support of the city's application for Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund through the State Department of Economic Development. As the developer, we anticipate participating by contributing 6 single-family detached residential lots up at Wahoo Ridge, lots 1 through 6. They're in that kind of northern part. These are the townhome villa lots, so a little smaller in scale as opposed to a standard residential lot, aimed with this type of housing in mind, adding more diversity to the local housing stock, making it a little more attainable for folks. So the ability to take that even further into qualified workforce housing is I think a really good fit. This did come together really quickly, so kudos to city staff for being responsive and pulling this together and getting in front of you. What we will do, as I mentioned, is contribute the value of the lots. And the TIF request, $330,000, equates to the value of 6 lots at $55,000 apiece, which is the market rate for these. And as the developer, we will utilize the proceeds of the 15-year TIF to kind of recoup that contributed amount. And it's a fairly unique approach to some of this, because rarely do you have kind of developer city and then the development district the ability to kind of maneuver in this way. So like I said, we really appreciate the opportunity. What the grant does is essentially for qualified households at kind of maximum income rates based off of their household size, at up to 120% of the area median income for Saunders County. Those are the eligible households who can apply for this. The grant then kind of buys down the overall cost of the home and the lot, and also caps the end selling price of what these new home buyers or homeowners will be paying. And that cap will be approximately $335,000. Those maximum median incomes based off household size range from all the way up to $99,000 for a household of 1, up to, say, for a family of 4, household of 4, up to $141,000. So as I said before, these are not kind of your mom and pop's affordable housing type projects. That 120% AMI, makes that a pretty sizable income and still be able to qualify for this, because it truly is workforce. It's intended to meet the workforce needs of the community itself. And so when you look at salaries within that range, you are talking teachers, you're talking welders, registered nurses, all of those, I think, that we know are needs in the community. I think this type of housing and these income limits can help support that and make this housing attainable for young professionals coming into the community in professions of need, especially. The eligible cost of this is, of course, the land acquisition, which is kind of being passed through the contribution of the 6 individual lots. And as I mentioned, over the 15 years of the TIF, JEO will be recouping the cost of contributing those lots. So it's that plus potential capitalized interest associated with this. The grant requires, it's going to be 6 homes built over 3 years, so a minimum of 2 homes per year for those 3 years. As such, we're requesting a phased TIF, which essentially kind of restarts the shot clock with each phase, probably 3 at 2 homes apiece per year, through an amendment of the redevelopment agreement. So it's something that's been done here before locally, and that I think it matches kind of the needs of this project really well. So what we are intending, because as I mentioned, we're working through SEDAC and the Nebraska Department of Economic Development so that our construction contractor, Sand Creek Construction, can do the construction piece of this as well. I think they like the idea of a local construction manager for some of these. And frankly, they're doing these throughout the region and don't have a lot of capacity on hand at the moment. So I think that could work really well. We're working through economic development to do that. They're still, with the city with the grant, still waiting on release of funds from the state as well. But our intent is that essentially what's out there now, we've got 2 homes right next door on lots 7 and 8. Lot 8 has recently sold in late November, and the home on lot 7 is currently listed as well. What you'll see through this project on lots 1 through 6 are going to be very similar to what's on there now. And these are homes that have sold and are being listed well over $400,000. So you can kind of see the quality of the home, which is now made available at a more attainable housing price. The floor plans are going to be very similar to what's there now. We will try to change up at least the architectural facade of the home to break up any monotony of some of that. But we're talking 12 to 1,400 square foot homes on these. So, you know, that and the fact that, you know, 335,000 is a capped attainable house these days, so it blows my mind, but that's kind of the market we're in. And that's also part of the challenge of home ownership these days. That being said, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
There's been a couple meetings prior to this, one on being planning and zoning, correct? Yeah. So, what's our recommendation on this?
Approval. I recommend approval.
Go ahead. Okay. That's part of the record then. Public, any responses or questions? Yes. Please speak.
You gonna speak, Travis?
Nope.
Oh, you've already spoke your part. Lisa Klein, Economic Development and Chamber. Most Nebraska communities are able to provide, when they get one of these grants from the Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund, usually provide lots from their infill lots that they've owned, or they've torn down buildings in their communities. As you know, in here in Wahoo, we don't have those. There might be some buildings worth tearing down. I'm not naming any names, but the opportunity we had to, with Melissa's work, to get this grant and then find the lots, coming up with this very creative and necessary way is going to allow us to move forward with this grant process. And the AMI here in Saunders County is very high, so there's a high likelihood of a lot of folks being able to apply and be successful in living in these smaller homes. But anyway, thank you for your consideration. Thanks to JO.
Any other comments? The public?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll second.
There's been a motion, a second, to close the public hearing. Roll call.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Creachy?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Warford?
Yes.
Okay, on your agenda, it shows 1B, Resolution 2026-01, to approve the redevelopment plan amendment to the Wilma Ridge residential project. Open for discussion from the council.
Just so I understand, this was something, I don't know why I haven't done this before. Maybe I have, but I feel like I'm missing something. Don't get me wrong, this is a project we absolutely need to move forward with, but I think I'm adding the same number twice. The thought here is that the grant, I guess, how much is the grant supposed to be per lot that we're picking up on this, or what is that going toward? If TIF is paying for the lots, I guess in my head I was thinking, oh, the grant pays for the lots, and then wait, no, TIF is paying for the lots. What's the grant going to?
Yeah, the grant buys down the cost. So even with the lots, you know, it's still,
We're still over
gosh,
the
yeah,
top.
what, 30 to 50,000 per lot. That's buying down the price for it.
Okay. So it's kind of, both of those are just all encompassing. It's what's needed to get the cost down to the 335.
Yeah. With one of the comps, we'll call it, you know, it was sold in November for 410, which is inclusive, you know, of the lot itself. You know, so make that math, it's what, that 40,000 or so.
One of the other things that the grant does is it provides the opportunity funding for the construction. So you don't have the borrowing of the money needed for the construction of the home.
Then when the purchase is completed, does that money go back to?
Revolving.
Yeah,
It's a revolving loan, they'll do two at a time. It also allows, SEND has a program to, I think it's $1,000 toward down payment. So they will layer on additional funding to assist qualifying individuals to more easily purchase. Whole goal, get people into homes that they can afford. But that loan is revolving then, so.
Yeah, the idea is that there is a minimum of 6 homes with this Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and that's what we're committing to on the TIF side, but it is possible that once these first 6 are completed, that the program could continue with other lots.
Awesome. Very cool.
So for the qualifying homeowner, how long do they have to stay there? Usually 5 to 10 years, but I don't know if I've ever heard.
I'm not sure if it's 5 or 10, but if
So
they
then
do
they're
sell,
locked
they,
in.
I know they have to reimburse the down payment
Yeah.
loan,
Which is
that
only fair.
10,000, it's a round number,
Okay.
but not the revolving loan.
Yes, there are some, they said clawback provisions to the program.
So this is a resolution, not a,
Ordinance.
not an ordinance, so we just need approval of the resolution, right? Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion been made, seconded to approve the resolution 2026-01. Any questions? No? Roll call.
Warford.
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Okay, 1C, resolution 2026-02 to approve a redevelopment agreement for Wilma Ridge residential development. A little bit different, this is an agreement instead of an amendment.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
Assuming you put it in, something that needs to be.
Motion is made for, to vote on 2026-02. Any questions? Roll call.
Warford.
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yes.
Okay, now another public hearing regarding the preliminary plat for Crummel Industry subdivision. I'll open up the public hearing for that, and again, ask the developer to speak first.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, Kevin Anderson again from JEO Investments. Here with another exciting one on the other side of the coin of, just housing, and now let's try to bring some jobs to the community. We are proposing Cromwell Business Park, Industrial Park, at the southeast corner of US Highway 77 and Old 77. At the southeast part of the roundabout, approximately 40 acres here, where we've got a combination of commercial and industrial uses proposed. That is in line with the future land use plan for this area, which calls for both flex, as it's identified in the land use plan, which is kind of that combination of commercial and industrial with the intent of, can kind of pull from various land uses to be adaptable and, as it's known, flexible to what the area wants to be and really be that job and services center for the community in areas that are very well accessible by vehicular and other modes of traffic and transportation. So this with the highway, newly improved intersection, as well as rail access at the southern border of the property here, provides a really good opportunity to really get some good jobs into the community. As I mentioned, a combination of commercial and industrial uses as it reflects on that land use map, with a large commercial site right at the frontage and right off of the intersection of US 77, moving into more 8 smaller 1 acre or so lots, where we propose kind of individual buildings as opposed to bays of buildings and that sort of thing, for an kind of a flexible use for potential job centers, but also other services towards the community as well. These we imagine as being somewhat similar to the industrial park to the north in both look and potential utilization, but you could see kind of contractor shops, contractor yards, some level of storage by conditional use permits, I believe. But really good opportunities in here for a number of uses, and then 2 larger lots for a more traditional industrial use supported by an I-2 zoning request that we'll get into here in a little while. Infrastructure to this area, we mentioned the transportation infrastructure that's right there, which is a huge amenity for the utilization of the site and the proposed uses we've got in here. But as you see, kind of temporary street names here with A Street, B Street, A Street accessing off of Old 77. That aligns with, as you look to the west, the access to the frontage road serving the implement and the buildings on the southwest corner of that intersection. So A Street does align, and then C Street, I suppose, is the secondary access off of 77. That's important because NDOT has some element of control down to the south through A Street, where they control access as it relates to how that impacts the interchange. The draft traffic study is in front of NDOT right now, but they've expressed support of the kind of layout here. So traffic study is still in draft form, and that's kind of pending as we work through that process. All other utility infrastructure is easily accessible to the site. Of course, I mentioned the rail infrastructure to the south of the east there. We have not worked with the railroad. Instead, we could use that for the potential user as well. If there's interest in rail access, they can work with the railroads through that process. We do have 3 outlots planned in here, 4 outlets, I apologize, through A, B, C, and then at the southeast corner, at the bottom left of the screen, there is a large outlot because of the varying directions that the storm water wants to flow. But in your packet is a initial stormwater drainage memo to kind of show the layout of some of those. Getting back to the traffic, I should have mentioned southbound on Old 77 as you come off the roundabout. The one proposed or recommended improvement there is a southbound left turn lane coming into A Street there. So fortunately, with the improvements to that interchange and the roundabout, we've got plenty of paving, and that should be a fairly simple kind of restriping as opposed to adding a bunch of construction and construction codes through that. So that's going to be very manageable, and that came out of the traffic study associated with this project as well. In front of you today is just the preliminary plat here. Of course, with this comes a request of change of zoning as we move to a C2 and I2 to serve these proposed uses. While that's not on today's agenda, that does really impact how we move this forward. So if there's any opposition or comments, feedback that you have that's relevant to that, we'd sure like to hear it. Especially as a part of this rezone request, we're also making a request, which would be a zoning request, to amend in this area the design overlay corridor district through here, which currently moves through the site about there where the cursor is, and that's at the quarter mile from either side of the expressway. What we are requesting is to line that essentially with A Street at the 8th mile, which would still cover the commercial frontage that we have on there, but it would kind of pull out the more industrial uses out of at least what's proposed here. And as much it is a reflection of this project as well, this whole area is designated as industrial in that flex in the future land use. I would argue that that's going to be appropriate for the future development of this area moving east along the highway as well. So to me, there's a pretty good argument for skinning up that design overlay because, as important and as big of a priority as that is for the community, I just don't think that's kind of jives well with a proposed industrial use, given size of the lots and the nature of those buildings and what folks want to put into some of those job centers. Certainly a fantastic fit for some other projects that we are working on and that sort of thing. But I think here's an argument where some potential flexibility as it relates to industrial development. I think makes some sense in my opinion. So, again, that's not on today's agenda. That would coincide with the zoning request that would come along, or zoning change that would come along with the final plat. But we'd sure like to hear some of your input if you have any at this stage, so that we've got some direction in how we move this forward. So, very much a speculative project for us. We don't necessarily have users in mind. We have had some interest as we worked with commercial and industrial brokers and the like, but this is one, as opposed to some of our others, we are kind of more of a speculative basis on this one. So, number of iterations, this can take one way or the other, but we think it's a pretty sound start and a good way to have those start those conversations with potential users. So, thank you for your time.
Real quick question, you said a couple times, you made reference to A Street and C Street. Are those just generic names at this point?
Yes, yeah, those are placeholder names for the time being. Yep, exactly.
Open to the public.
I don't know if he's doing a rundown from planning commission. If anybody's gonna ask. Am I speaking as planning commission or am I speaking as public?
If you want to speak, or you just,
I don't know.
well, that's your call.
Because I don't know.
I
if
know
you're
you're
gonna-
part
I
of
can
the
speak-
planning
If you're gonna
department.
ask
I'll
for,
speak for the planning.
okay. Because last time I kind of went back and forth and it was confusing.
So with regards to the preliminary plat, I think there was a lot of support for this kind of subdivision to happen in this location. It does fall in line with the future land use map. So in terms of what we have before us today, which is the preliminary plat, there was full support from the planning commission to move forward with that. When we're talking about the zoning, which will be on their agenda in February, as well as come to the city council at the first meeting in February, I don't think there were any issues with the C2 or the I2 zoning that's being proposed in this area, but there were some concerns about the transportation, skinning up that transportation corridor overlay. So the conversation by several of the planning commission was that, we worked hard to keep the aesthetic standard at a high level here in Wahoo in a number of locations around the community. I think the counter, which was also discussed, is that under C2 zoning as well as the industrial zonings, whether it's I1 or I2, there are already landscaping requirements that are built into those zoning regulations. So that's kind of, I think I've summed it up, right? Is that mostly? Yeah, I think there was concern, there's concern about making an exception for application of the transportation overlay district in this area. So, especially in those 8 smaller lots that are there.
So moving forward, would it be a fair request to have the comparison of the design overlay with the C2 zoning? What does each one cover and what do they not cover? Because we're making generalized statements, and it'd be good to be specific as
I think that is a very good point as we go into the actual public hearings, right? To lay out, like, if this is the project that's proposed under C2, this is what is required under the design standards, this would be the additional items that
Sure.
would be needed. So,
And I guess it was also important to point out that this particular C2 would touch industrial. And once it's industrial, things change. You
right.
hands off on some of that stuff. But
There
it
were a
was
lot of
a
those.
spirited discussion.
Yeah, right, spirited discussion is a fair statement. So with that, that's the rundown on the plan commission.
Any other from the public?
I'm here, so I'll just say something. We have had in almost 6 years that I've been in this position, have had a number of requests for industrial space, and we have not had it. Even though, as Kevin said, this is speculative, It opens the door. It doesn't mean we're opening the door to anything that wants to come in. Of course, there will be lots of jumps and hoops and things that we will do, but it does at least allow us to A, take care of businesses we already have in town that want to expand and have no chance to, but also welcome businesses that also would be a good complement to our current industries or the area in which we are. So also, I don't know the C2 zoning requirements, but I do know that when a business is of industrial in nature, they're building stuff, right? So if you lay on too many design standards, they won't even look at you because they can't afford it in terms of what they're building and what they're doing. The EPA takes care of that with all of their water and air standards. So I'm just excited about the opportunity, and hopefully in the future, near future, we'll be able to at least look at businesses that want to come to town.
Okay, thank you. I think the public is spoken.
Well, I think I just want to add a couple things,
Okay,
and I suppose it could be as a public person. So Melissa really did cover a lot of what happened, what was discussed. There was a couple of other things that kind of came to mind after the fact, as far as the design standards and that particular area. I think one thing that got left out was that we felt strongly that this project and the project south of Casey's are the perfect opportunities for Wahoo to set the bar for the standards that we worked towards and paid a lot of money for to create and accomplish the vision for the future of the city that we've been discussing for years. So to me, as a public person, and if you look at the transportation corridor design standards, the Highway 77, while we did not anticipate, I need to go back to my public person cap. But okay, so it covers, here's your Highway 77, it's around here. This area is the roundabout here, was left out, coming into town because that was not seen to be sort of the way in or the corridor that the focus was with Chestnut Street. With the roundabout, a lot of us have noticed an increase in traffic coming back through that way and the development of this particular area. I think this is what the proposed is, so it would be the C2 would be here. So this is, I don't know if you guys acclimate to this. So this is Old 77, this is Highway 77 here. So this is down by the railroad. This would be the big part roundabout right here. These are the commercial spaces. They want to cut off the design standards here to not include any of this, which, understanding that industrial means what it does, but it doesn't mean have it look like crap. Or, not have some sort of standard for visually pleasing, I don't know if that's right. Because I think that new intersection area here with more traffic coming in, with a turn lane, with whatever these commercial buildings end up being, even if this is an industrial area down here, there could still be, and there will be a little bit of a buffer here with a drainage ditch here and here in front of these, but there could still be a standard of what we want people to see when they come that way. I think that the lake area needs to be taken into consideration too, because I think there's a lot of opportunity to, the lake brings a lot of people into town. And so people are going through there, they're going by that. Even if this bigger lot ends up being a gas station or a hotel or I don't know, whatever can go in C2, I think we need to think bigger picture here and not less with the design. The waiving the design standards I think is a mistake, long term. And quite frankly, maybe we need to relook at it coming along the whole Highway 77 because of the proposed, there's some other projects out there along, south of Wahoo Concrete. That project, I don't know where that stands, but that was gonna be like a little community and a pond and like some other stuff. There's no design standards along that area at all. But with that increased traffic, with this industrial, commercial area, that development on the corner there, you know, that's an opportunity to, again, set the standard for what Wahoo wants to be, what we want people to see when they come here. Because I just heard two other things tonight of, that Saunders County is the fastest growing, you said that, Shane, right? That,
Will be in the next
Yeah.
3 years.
so if we're kind of right there in the middle, kind of not, I don't want to say leading the way, but it feels like that because we're doing lots of projects, lots of things are happening, moving fast. I just don't think that we should lose sight of, you know, the actual planning part and doing things right the first time, because it's hard to be like, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda, after it's already there. And you have, I think Jason Gable mentioned in planning, again, sorry, public person, but, you know, he said it's kind of like a domino. You have these 8 things here, and you have a standard of, this is what, you know, it looks nice, it's maintained, there's, you know, screened-in areas for outdoor storage and things of that nature, and then you set the standard of what those areas are. If you don't have that, then it could be like a really nice one, and then there's a neighbor with a crap one, and then maybe that other neighbor moves out because they don't like to live, you know, you set the standard. This is our opportunity to do this correctly with all of these projects moving forward. There was a comment, if the waiver of the design standards is a no-go, I just want to point out that in the design standards, the area C, which is the green area around here, only must meet 50% of the total possible points based on the site characteristics. It does not have to meet the higher 70% as it would be in town. Even the outskirts must meet 60%. So it's not like it's, and if you go and look, which I recommend that you go through these and see what are those points that are available to have, and they only have to meet 50% of them. Some of it's parking, some of it's fenced areas, some of it's lighting, some of it's stuff that's pretty common sense. But C2 still has, I don't know if it is that messed up. Okay, so C2, without the design standards, still, there's no outdoor storage except the display of merchandise for sale to the public is permitted. And then open storage of materials need to be surrounded by a screened by a solid wall or fence. So there's still that, you know, you take that design standard away, when we talk about some of that, is that there's still, you can't just have stuff everywhere. But I think the design standards just make it a little bit clearer, because those are supposed to be over the existing zoning. And that's also true for I2. That one says all waste materials shall be screened from view with a solid fence. So there are some zoning standards that would help to keep that area, you know, I don't know if inviting in an industrial space is the word I'm looking for, but
Regulated, controlled.
yeah, and I don't, we are for this whole project. I'm for it as a public person, as a planning commission, all the things. But I think that it just goes back to my, oh, and then you said EPA, pollution, you started talking about that. Sorry, I wanted to go as a public on the other side of that. Pollution can be caused, or can mean a lot of things, whether it's noise, air, you know, let's see what I'm looking for, sorry. Okay, so smells, gas, noise, drainage, environment, even smells of certain kinds could ruin maybe the experience at the lake if the wind's going the direction. Obviously, the wind usually goes that way, but you know, I'm just saying, even on we all smell the rendering plant, and it's way that way. So, you know, those things could be taken into consideration too, and I think that there's an opportunity to really make that area with the lake, tie it together maybe, and that's, you know, up to developers how they end up doing that. But I think that waiving the design standards to lessen it in that area, even if you can't see it necessarily from the highway, what's happening out here later? What's happening 10 years, 20, 30 years down the road in that whole area? Because that's coming too. And what does the city want? What do they want the standards to be? Because it's easier, the lake, the bypass makes it possible for all of this now. So I think that that needs to be taken into consideration. And like I said, I just really, these two projects along the bypass and the standards, I think, are just really, really good opportunities to plan, think ahead, and make the vision that Wahoo wants it to be, and you can't go backward usually. That's all.
Thank you. Planning Commission did support it, right? Yeah. That's what I understood.
There's no public hearing, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion
Let it
set
speak.
close the public hearing.
There's no left in the room.
Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yeah.
Warford.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, 2B, action regarding approval of the preliminary plot for Rummel Industrial Subdivision.
That's the easy part. huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Motion to approve. I would
As far
also
as that goes, that's easy,
I
yeah.
would like to add that as the treasurer of Wahoo Industries, and Terry O'Brien was the president of Wahoo Industries, this is, when you say speculative, you mean it. I mean, I appreciate the risk involved in developing sites like this. We need it, and I'm glad to do it.
Was there a second?
Okay. Been motion made and seconded. Any other discussion from the council? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Raffle.
Yes.
Third, public hearing, amendment to zoning regulations, removing parking plan approval.
Do you want me to talk about it, or do you want to talk about it first?
It don't matter to me, I can.
This comes from the conversation we had about the public parking service, and decided we don't really need to.
Yeah, so basically, we've had a
Exactly.
few come around as far as surfacing of a parking. So that's where this kind of came about as far as the approval of that. The parking stalls themselves are laid out for the numbers and all that. So a couple had hinted that maybe this wasn't necessary and whatnot as far as another step. If someone wavers from the concrete and the curbing and everything that is in our standards of that parking, that's when it would still come before for approval. You know, a good example would be like the campus where they wanted to use permeable surfacing instead of the standard concrete because of stormwater runoff. If someone doesn't have the money to maybe concrete everything, you know, do we allow them to rock half of their parking requirement, those type of things. Those would still be before for approval. That would be an administrative decision. But your standard parking lot, if they're meeting all the requirements and everything, that wouldn't have to come before planning commission and city council for approval, basically.
So no more trying to figure out which cars park where or how, as long as they have numbers,
Yes, yep.
we don't need to deal with that anymore.
And that's why the current regulation exists, is because if it meets the regulations, Travis is going to administratively approve it. He doesn't really have the latitude to say no, whereas if it comes in front of the council, you have a larger authority to say, well, we don't have to strictly abide by the regulations if we don't want to. But if in pattern of practice you're going to approve it anyways, then it's unnecessary for all these to come in front of you.
We still would have the conditional use process if someone's asking for on-street parking, those type of things too. So there's still that level of approval before the planning commission and city council on those two.
And this is public hearing?
This is public hearing.
Is there a second to close the public hearing? Okay. Roll call on closing the public hearing?
Warford,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Okay, 3, action regarding approval of ordinance 2492, amending the city of Wahoo zoning regulations regarding parking plan approvals. This is an ordinance.
Motion introduced?
Second.
Okay. Roll call on introducing the ordinance. We need a,
We don't need,
not yet.
not yet.
Do we need, are we waiting? Is this something we could or should?
We can waive it.
We can let it ride out.
Or it's one of those things, I feel like the motion to waive is supposed to be something that needs to be done quickly or is largely,
People think about it.
I don't know. Again, I don't think this is anything we have to me, I'm all for it. I can make the motion, I suppose.
Got a
Keep it
motion
simple.
waived.
Motion waived.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Roll call on waiving the 3 public hearings?
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Okay, now we have a reading of the final reading, the public hearing, or ordinance. Is there a motion?
I've got those.
You got it?
Mhm.
Okay. Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Okay, action items not requiring public hearing. 1, acceptance of scoring results from the scoring committee on the proposal received in response to the RFP for the downtown revitalization planning project. Authorization for staff to proceed with the development of scope of services with JEO Consulting Group.
So, in the packet, you had the opportunity to see, each of the the proposals that were submitted, and then a tally of the scoring worksheet. And there were 8 individuals that participated in scoring the submittals based off of the criteria that were spelled out in the request for proposals. 7 of the 8 landed with a high score for JEO, and the 8th had a tie between JEO and 5 rural planning. Based on the scoring, it is a recommendation of that committee to move forward with scope of services with JEO Consulting. At this point, we have not gotten our official grant agreement from the state yet, so we do not want to move into any kind of contract before we have that. So I'd just like permission, basically your concurrence or acceptance of the scoring and the ability to move forward to get the language in that scope drafted and ready to go so that when we have a grant agreement, we can start that process. Are there any questions? I will say I did the scoring, and if anyone who did the scoring wants to chime in, but I thought there were some really interesting ideas presented through with some of the other consultants, and I'm hoping that we can potentially use some of those ideas in what we put together with JEO. Questions?
May I ask, in the document that you have attached to it, the very first one that actually has the spreadsheet with all the total scorings,
Yes.
there are 4 scored sheets in there. What are those? I mean, I see there's 1 for 5 rules. Is that just somehow you attach one person's responses to each of those? Just scroll down from there. This is 1 worksheet for each of 4 different companies, but I didn't really understand why we have 1 sheet for each one attached to this. I was trying to figure out what that represented.
That's a good question.
Okay.
It appears that there were 1 of the scoring sheets that got included in this summary when it printed, so I apologize, yeah.
Just trying to figure it out. I was like,
Some
I'm trying to figure out.
is that right there.
Yes, this is a collective of all of the scoring. So this is what everyone submitted. something like this with their own individual scores, and then I tallied those and added them onto this sheet, so.
It was just an example, Carl.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to
why
like.
are you questioning me?
That's one on each one, is this supposed to be? These
I
is
think
the person who
probably
filled them out with the best scores.
I think probably what
I don't know
happened
what we
is
should do next.
I had a worksheet open and I printed, like I had 2 tabs highlighted and I printed the PDF and I included both this and that.
Okay. Just curious why it was.
Good question. Any questions?
You need a motion to accept the report.
Yes, please.
Motion to accept.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the report. Any other questions? Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Okay. Item 2, approval of the first reading of ordinance 2493, annexation of Dry Run Commons, Phase 1.
So admittedly, this is a bit of a flub on my part because actually on the agenda for this evening was also supposed to be a public hearing for the Dry Run Commons Phase 1 final plat. And I missed the publication deadline, so it is at our next meeting. But in order to keep this ball rolling, I think it has been the city council's position that when something like this comes forward, we are going to move forward with annexation. So this would be the start of that process. The legal description would be the area that we're going to be considering for final plat approval at our next city council meeting. And then we would have one more reading of that ordinance at the first meeting in February. So if you're inclined, I would appreciate approval of first reading of the ordinance, Dry Run Commons Phase 1, which would be 3 lots directly south of the new Casey's building.
Ownership requests annexation. If
Yes,
the
yeah,
owner
yeah.
requests the annexation.
They did request the annexation.
So moved.
Second.
So you're introducing the ordinance
Yes.
and approving first reading.
As you wish.
Okay.
Still a second, please. Put the words in my mouth. It works better this way.
We have a motion and a second to approve the first reading, ordinance 2493. Any questions? Roll call on the first reading.
Krejci,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Warford,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Item 3, approval of resolution 2026-3 declaring property as surplus.
Oh, that's what she said less than.
Yeah, is there less than?
Pretend those are special. It's less than $5,000.
Oh, they're less than 5,000.
Do you want to explain or do you want me to?
I can.
It's radiation detection.
So, I can explain. Okay, so in the process of our getting ready for our move, we have cleaned out a lot of nooks and crannies. And one of the things that I believe Melissa came across was some radiation detection sets. And she reached out to the museum, the Historical Society here for Saunders County, and they're actually doing a Cold War exhibit, and they would like to take those as part of their, to utilize in that exhibit.
How old are those things then? Cold War?
So they have a stamp on them that says property of Nebraska Emergency Management Association. And they say last certified in 2011. And so I did reach out to NEMA and they said they take them, but they're going to declare them as surplus as well. So if you open the boxes, they look like they're from maybe the 60s or 70s.
The other item on here that's historical records, so we also have brought up the entire records room up into council chambers. If you want to come see historical records at some time, let me know. When we reached out to the Historical Society, they also came and looked at some of those records. A lot of them are historical ledgers, tracking things like meter reads and whatnot, but we do have records dating back as far as 1880s. Handwritten records. One of the most interesting things I think that we came across were handwritten burial permits for various people from, do you know what that time frame was? World War II?
The 40s and 50s, yeah.
Wow.
And so that, along with a couple of other smaller bits and pieces, the museum is interested in taking as well. So we don't have a plan for the items that they don't want to take. We will still probably retain them, but in a better storage than just sitting on the shelves in the basement that we have right now. But that's what those historical records are in reference to.
There's nothing in here about a mower?
No, it started, the title is the surplus property.
The title says our, that was the last
I
one.
opened the DNR and then I opened it up, I'm like, I don't see a mower anywhere.
That's, I was like, what kind of mower are we talking about?
Which mower? Like, is it over 5 grand?
Is it what?
I think it's under 5 grand. It's the last thing we said.
They put it value because the ownership is turned over to the library, but we have access to all the information. Is that still?
The ownership would be turned over to the Historical Society.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
right. And we, I mean, honestly, in the time that I've been at City Hall, I've never looked in the cemetery box that's there, or have I opened the books to read them, so.
Those aren't records.
But
that
they're
we're
still
required to keep.
available now.
Right, yeah.
We are required to keep burial records indefinitely. However, we have burial books that have very likely the exact same information listed. Those records also go back to 1880s. They list cause of death, date of burial, things like that. What's missing, these are permits, it looks like, from the state to transport remains. There's some that show place of death is being located overseas in Japan and things like that. So I think that that's the purpose of these, and I don't think that we are required to retain those records.
Would there be any record on it? I think there's records of the Four Farms burial site. Did you come across anything that would support that? Just,
Not
No.
particularly.
I know you weren't looking for anything.
Right.
But, yeah, okay.
So when you do get some time and you're done moving and the documents are yours that the museum doesn't want,
Mhm.
do you ever plan on some electronic storage and getting those things scanned and just, get rid of the paper? That maybe is for another day.
I've been pushing to get rid of paper for a while. It's actually something that we've talked about, is trying to digitize more of our records so that they are more easily accessible. The thing with these significantly older records is they are just deteriorating sitting on the shelves. But some of the ledger books are larger than the top of this podium, and there's handwritten calculations for charges for water meters and things like that. It's not anything that we're legally required to hold on to at this point. I don't think, according to our records retention schedules, but it is a glimpse back into how there's not even addresses listed. It's just by name because everybody knew where everybody was. So it is very interesting, I think. I don't know if those older records would survive being taken apart to be digitized, but Melissa and I have talked about coming up with better storage solutions for them than what they currently have.
Well, just going forward,
Right.
digitizing what you have, so you don't
Yes.
create more paper.
We have talked
We
about
are.
it.
Motion to approve declaring surplus.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the resolution
Who's that?
2603, surplus property. Questions?
With the changes.
Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Krejci,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Number 4, receive bids for a loan for the balance of the new Wahoo fire engine and authorization to proceed with the loan agreement.
I guess so.
So if you recall, I think all of you were on the council when we placed the order for the fire engine like 2 years ago. We talked about how we were going to finance that, and at that time, we discussed utilizing public safety bonds for the outstanding balance of that We used cash on hand, we used some managed trust funds. We have calculated the estimated value of the resale of the vehicle, and the balance that we have is $232,000. And it does not make sense to go through the bonding process for that,
232,000.
of that amount. So,
A whole lot less than I thought we were gonna have a bond.
right, I think initially that was, we thought it was going to be significantly more than that.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7. 6.
So, I requested and received 2 proposals, 2 bids. One for 4.875 fixed for 5 years, the other for 3.75 fixed for 5 years. I think that's kind of a no-brainer, and
I'd like to pay less notice.
Wahoo State Bank offered the 3.75, and I think there might be some
Go for it.
some, I don't know what rates are, but included in the comments were that they understand and appreciate the need for a good fire equipment, so.
Do we know when that is going to be delivered?
It was supposed to be delivered this month,
That's what
but now I just texted Cody this afternoon and he said there's some delay for some reason and it'll be next month, so.
Anytime you have a delivery date, expect the vehicle to go into service a minimum of 2 months after that. Anytime you have, like, by the time you get it, then you gotta equip it, then you gotta find the problems with it and send it back and get those fixed.
Yeah, but we're not even gonna get it
Yeah,
until,
that's-
right, for another.
We had a delivery date in January, if we have that thing on the street by now, we should be sure. Just,
Yeah.
seems to always goes.
So the other piece of this is when we do local borrowing, we, per state statute, need to make a finding as a council that this is the most economical for us, that it does not make sense for us to go through the bonding process to borrow money. So we are choosing to borrow locally because fiscally that makes the most sense. So in a motion to authorize moving forward with the Wahoo State Bank proposal, I would ask that she would make that statement as well. Or Christina will put that in.
I'll make that motion for Christine to add that statement for us.
Please put words in his mouth.
Fiscally responsible.
Is there a second? Was there a second? Okay. Any other questions? Roll call on receiving the bids.
Raffle,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas, Warford,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Krejci.
Yes.
Number 5, author.
Joe, we'll have you review that motion to make sure that it meets all of the things it's supposed to. So, go ahead.
Okay. 5, authorization to proceed with the purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet Silverado heavy medium-duty 4-wheel drive work truck and the purchase and installation of snow removal equipment as approved as part of the 25-26 budget. Total price $98,712.
So included in the budget, we had the $100,000 included in the budget for vehicles, I think. And so I know Joe has been actively looking for a piece of equipment that will meet our needs. You are all aware that we bought, I don't know my trucks, but it's not a dump truck, it's a heavy duty truck that they have a snow equipment mounted on. And that is actually their most used piece of equipment. The dump trucks become a little bit cumbersome. They're needed in really, really heavy events, but the majority of our events do not meet that criteria. And purchasing a new dump truck would be probably 3 times this cost. So what is included in the packet is actually out of I think Minnesota. And in the meantime, I will say Joe has gone to St. Dylan's previously and asked for them to be competitive, and I don't know whether it's because it's on the agenda or what, but we have a proposal from Sid Dillon's. The vehicle from Minnesota is $72,550 plus a $350 dock fee. Sid Dillon said they would provide it to us for $73,461, so less than $1,000 different. We don't have to drive to Minnesota to get the vehicle, and so I guess my recommendation would be that we go with the proposal from Sid Dillon. It is a 2024 Chevy Silverado medium duty, 4-wheel drive, HD chassis, regular cab. It's a Duramax 6.6 liter turbo diesel V8, and if you want to look specifically at this, I'll pass this around so that who cares about trucks can look at it if you want, but
The 25,000 in plow setup and all that stuff, that will remain the same.
yes, yep,
So, yeah, it's just the truck. we're
it's just the truck, yeah.
And is the one from Sid Dillon's brand new? What model year is it?
2024,
Same thing?
yes.
Both of them are pretty close in specs.
Yes, it appears, so yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Neither of these were anything we could do under one of our purchasing agreements, or any better?
You know, I have shared that information with Joe multiple times, and I know that he has explored that, and it's just that
Sure you do.
it's about finding a piece of equipment that's available.
That makes sense.
Any questions?
Motion to proceed.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve authorization to purchase this vehicle and the equipment now on it. Questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Warford.
Yes.
Okay, item 6, litigation update regarding Nordstrom lawsuit. Jovan and I have visited, and I know Melissa and Jovan is still feeling we probably don't have to go into closed session.
Yeah, I think what this is anytime a lawsuit is brought against the city, we turn it over to LARM. LARM provides defense coverage under our insurance agreement with LARM. LARM, of course, has the right to settle out a case if they feel like the nuisance value of it is such that it makes more sense to settle it for that value. We still have to sign off on the settlement agreement, even though they're running the ship, so to speak. And so we have to formalize our approval of that agreement that run through the terms of the agreement with Jerry in greater detail. There are confidentiality provisions within the document, so I'm reluctant to get too into the weeds. Certainly if you want to know the specific terms and conditions, talk about it, we can go into executive session and talk about it, but generally I would say that's unnecessary because it's their decision, not our decision, right? And I think no matter what the outcome of that conversation is, we're going to approve as we're required to what the insurance company wants to do. So it'd be my recommendation to approve Jerry's execution of the settlement agreement that Lauren presented to us.
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and
This will
seconded.
end all that entire
It's done.
process is going to be
It's done.
completed at this point.
Correct.
LARM and
It'll result in a
Plaintiff.
release of the lawsuit and a full release of all the, just like any settlement agreement, any known, unknown, direct, indirect claims that the parties might have against one another.
Okay,
understood.
the motion made and seconded to authorize the mayor to sign this settlement agreement for the Nordstrom lawsuit. Roll call.
Warford,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Raffle.
Yes.
Okay. Mayor's comments, don't have any unless somebody has questions of me. Council? Questions, comments? Remember, filing date for incumbents is Middle of February, 15th or 17th?
It's open now.
I thought, it is open now. I thought it was like February 7th maybe, but it's like the first weekend.
And it's all, right?
Used to
It's
be
all-
the 15th, ends up being
I know, give me a second.
I looked at it. I think,
Wait,
I think for non-incumbents, it's March 2nd,
February 17th.
17th, yeah. Anything else, council? Declare the meeting adjourned.